Good evening, everybody. We'll kick off, we'll get started on the December 10th regular meeting of the Saugerties School Board. Emergency exits we have to each side and behind us, and then back here. Virginia, do roll call, please.
Sure. William Ball.
Here.
Christina Bellarosa. Here. Katie Martin.
Here.
Christina Jerry. Here. Sarah Salter. Michael Meyer.
Here.
Timothy Johnson.
Here.
Timothy Bell.
Here.
Meredith Hill. Here.
If I could just interrupt for one quick second, just say that we're aware that the online feed is not working, so we are going to record and we will put it up on YouTube tomorrow.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Dr. Ursik, our mission and visit statements.
All right, here in Saugerties, we provide equitable, engaging, inspiring, and holistic experience that supports success and empowerment for students, families, and the community in a diverse and changing world. Our vision is to become a beacon of educational excellence where every individual is inspired to achieve their fullest potential.
Okay. All right. First item, approval of minutes for the November 12th. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes? Ms. Bellarosa, second? Second. All right. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor? Aye. All right. Our student representative report, Ms. Mills.
Okay, that's fine. The women's wrestling team had their first freestyle multi-meet this past Monday. Last week we had a successful band concert. Thank you to all of those who made it happen. And our choir concert will be December 17th in the high school auditorium. This past weekend, the annual Shane Geisler basketball tournament was held. The annual Shane Geisler basketball tournament was this past weekend. Congratulations to all that participated. There is no high school PTA meeting this December. The next meeting will be January 8th. The high school building leadership team is looking for people to help develop goals, monitor our progress, and review or revise goals as needed. Please reach out to Ms. Molyneux if you would like to be part of the building leadership team. All stakeholders are welcome. And Ms. Molyneux would like to thank everybody at Saugerties High School and throughout the district for making her first week as principal of the high school welcoming. That's all I have for you.
All right. Thank you, Mary. Dr. Ursik, presentations and honors.
Just want to take a minute and recognize some people from our community. First, I want to recognize our Mahal academic award winners. So these are our student athletes who have maintained above a 90% average. Varsity football had 17 members, varsity girls soccer had 10 members, varsity golf 8, varsity cross country 26, varsity boys soccer 6, varsity girls tennis 18, varsity volleyball 11, and then varsity cheer 9. We did have 2 teams become scholar athlete teams, which means that more than 75% of the roster have achieved a grade point average of greater than 90%. That is varsity cross country and varsity girls tennis. I'd also like to recognize Coach Riley, Coach of the Year for men's soccer this year, and our volleyball team with Coach Werner for Sportsmanship Award. So great job to those teams and individuals for there. Also like to recognize some of our talented musicians. We had 6 students from Saugerties High School Choir who were chosen to sing in the all-area All-State at Starkman High School on November 23rd. We had Odin Cover James McTagg, Caleb Nelson, Samantha Vazano, and Sydney Sidarius, as well as Jordan Van Valkenburg. 2 students were chosen to participate at All-State Mixed Choir, which was held at the NYSSMA Conference December 5th through 8th at Eastman Theater in Rochester. Chloe Turner, James McTagg. The band concert was a huge success. Thank you to everybody who showed up for that. And various choir and band members participated in the Holiday in the Village show to show community support, and we'll be visiting all the elementary schools the day before winter break. So thank you to our musicians. Lastly, for tonight, before we turn it over to Cahill Elementary School, I did want to recognize the Ulster-BOCES Community Relations team. They won 6 awards at the New York State Public Relations Association out of 430 entries. For Saugerties in particular, they were recognized for 3 of their efforts. One was a merit award for the community newsletter series for Saugerties Central School District, so that's the flyers that go out several times a year. Christine Conti, who is in our district several days a week, was recognized for 2 videos that she produced, the Saugerties Shares Student Voice at Graduation, that highlighted the story behind our first grader from Cahill being a guest speaker at the commencement ceremony, and then at the adaptive skiing venture, Saugerties students of all abilities shine on the slopes. So thank you very much to Christine Conti and Holly Booker from Ulster-BOCES for telling our story.
All right, Ms. Cahill, you're up.
Check, check. All right. First off, I want to just thank again Devin and Will. Audrey, you have a question? No question. And Zach, members of our 5th and 6th graders who are in our student council who did our tour before this meeting. So thank you for showing your view of the school to our board. So I am very excited to be here in front of you today to talk about Cahill Elementary School. I am going to showcase our work through the district priority areas of academic excellence, family and community engagement, professional culture, and the student experience. We're going to share about our SEL supports and look at school-wide data, and we'll be hearing from a few students along the way. So Cahill by the numbers, we are, actually this changed today, so we have a new entrant today. We are 447 students today. We have sections of K through 6. The majority of our sections are 3 sections, and we have 2 sections of 5th and 6th, which may potentially change after this board meeting. We do have 101 students with IEPs, 20 with 504 plans. In this building, we house our ALP program, which stands for Alternative Learning Program. That is a program that has a very heavy therapeutic base to it, and we're combining forces with RCPC, an outside clinic, to do our daily and weekly counseling supports for students in that program, and that there's a continuum of grades 1 through 6 for that program. And we also house our ABC Academy here, which is Attention, Behavior, and Communication, and that is for students who have classifications of autism, speech language impaired, other health impaired, that may need a smaller class size, maybe need some more supports with behavioral strategies to be successful in the classroom. And we have our ENO students in the building. We have, this has changed to 60 students. We had a new student start today. And as you can see, I wanted to add some data about the students that were coming here from the previous year. So we have 60 students today. 2021, we have 39. Then the year after that, 42. The year after that, 46. So we're certainly seeing a trend in the growth in students who are entering our district with ENL services. And for right now, we have students from China, Dominican Republic, El Salvador, Guatemala, Haiti, Honduras, India, Mexico, Paraguay, Puerto Rico, Russia, and Ukraine. Very proud to have those students with us. So I want to talk a little bit about our support services in the building, because we certainly have an academic focus with what we work on all year, but there is a very large component of support that we give on a daily basis for social and emotional supports. So I mentioned a little bit before, we do have a school social worker from RCPC who works with our grades 1-3 class and 4-6 class, where she will do daily group sessions with the kiddos and individual weekly sessions with the kiddos. We have a school psychologist in the building who is scheduled to do 29 reevals, 21 CSE meetings to date, MTSS screening. So we had a process where we reviewed some students called Grand Rounds. You might have heard of this from past presentations. And so to date, she had done some screenings for screenings for students who we were a little concerned of. Threat assessments, she did 3 of those already this year. FBA development is functional behavioral analysis. It is seen as an assessment, and so she has supported and led and written 9 of those already, and 8 of those already. And then crisis interventions, we're seeing she's supporting 1 or 2 incidents per day for crisis interventions. And our school social worker. So we're both very visual people, and was able to kind of make a chart so we can really kind of put our finger on and share the kind of support services that we're doing here in Cahill. So what we're seeing is the yellow area are parts of her day where she's supporting students who are in crisis, and the blue area is where she is supporting students who have counseling goals on their IEP or are mandated, what we call goals. And the red area are where she's supporting students who are not mandated, who are not identified through the CSE process, but get some social emotional support, some counseling support from her. And the green area is all of the other stuff, so meetings and report writing and parent conversations and teacher consultations and all that good stuff. So one of the things, because we have such a large percentage of the time kind of dealing with and being reactive to situations, is we want to look at ways that we can be kind of proactive before and support students so that they have the tools to maneuver through the day without headed towards a crisis realm. So one of the things that our school social worker does is a lunch bunch for students in grades K2, where students work on social skills to build confidence, learn how to make friends, use communication, understand expectations, and that happens during their lunch period. And then she also works in the classrooms where she does push-in sessions with the whole entire class at once, which follows the New York City social and emotional benchmarks, where students are learning self-awareness, self-regulation, social awareness, relationship building, and responsible decision-making. That's also a time where students can bring up situations that are happening within their groups, and things can be talked out in an appropriate way when subject matters come up. So one of the things that we wanted to share with you today is our students showing you what that might look like. So right now, we have Sylvia, Lily, and Taylor, who designed a lovely skit for you all.
I heard that Suzanne said that you stole my shirt. Why would you do that?
I said I was showing before my mom was my birthday.
Hey, calm down.
If you look in front of you, there should be a blue paper that says I statement at the top. Feel free to fill it out as we go along. You guys really need to stop arguing. So how about we use an I statement and let's solve this conflict. Okay, Lily, you can go first. I
feel mad with Sylvia.
Sylvia, you're going to get your chance, but you need to listen to Lily.
I feel mad when Sylvia takes my things without telling me because I feel disrespected and I need her to give my shirt back.
Now you can go, Sylvia.
I feel disappointed my best friend is stealing her stuff until we get best readers. I need her to hear me out and see what happened.
I'm sorry. I didn't know you felt that way. Please tell me what happened.
Yes, I promise you this before a long time you just brought me this home for my birthday.
Is this the one?
Sometimes people get so frustrated, mad and frustrated that their emotions get in the way of communication.
Sylvia, Taylor, and Lily, thank you so much, our 6th graders. All right, on to building data. So there's so much data that we can look at as in a snapshot of what the school can use to look at just data to support our future planning. But this is a slide that I like because it shows the year growth. So this is all from last year, so 23-24 school year. You can see at the top bar is the end of the school year, and then right underneath it, a little lighter, is the pretest, is the beginning of the year data. And so to not get too in the weeds with all the specific numbers, what we're seeing and what we hope to see is that the green number will grow, right, because green is at or above grade level, and then the yellow and the red, the 1 grade below, the 2 grade below, gets less. And so what we're seeing is that at the end of the school year, for our math data, we're seeing that only 4% of our students were 3 grades or below, 35 were 1 grade level below, and then the green and the slash green show on or above grade level. So for us, what we're noticing for our math is that the geometry was a huge deficit for us in past years, but it's now a strength. And then numbers of operation show a strong understanding of numbers fluency. But algebra and algebraic thinking, while we did show some positive growth there, we always can benefit from a deeper understanding to lead to more success in secondary and beyond with those skills. In reading, we see, again, the same kind of trend for the year is that the top bold bar is showing us students who are at or above grade level with the hatched green and green, and then the yellow 1 grade level below, and red 3 or more. So we're seeing that 2 or 3 below. So we're seeing that there is a growth over the year, and for us, there was a relative growth with comprehension, but we also want to follow the vocabulary growth because we know that it is a key for reading comprehension, and it supports language acquisition, particularly for our students who are ENL and students with disabilities. They're our vulnerable students, and they benefit from explicit, targeted vocabulary work. So that's something that we're focusing on again this school year. So another data point that we can look at through iReady is typical growth and then stretch growth. And so typical growth is the growth that we'll see in a student based from a baseline data that they take on the beginning of the school year. And then the stretch growth is an ambitious but attainable level of growth, which puts below grade level students on a path towards proficiency, and then students who are at grade level to do advanced proficiency levels. Because I think if we're not looking at that stretch growth, we could potentially have students who are progressing, but kind of paralleling where a school, where the growth would be before grade level, and then we're going to read it. So we really have to kind of focus on that stretch growth goal. So this is information from last year from math for the district. This is broken down by grade levels, as you can see there. So what we're seeing is that the annual typical growth is the difference from the baseline to the end of the year. Now for each student, the baseline score would be different, right? So we're not looking at like a score on a unit test or something like that. These are very individualized scores based upon students' initial baseline data and then their work throughout the year. And then it shows the yearly growth. So the percentage met is showing us the students who met or exceeded their individual growth measures. So on the left side is the typical growth, and on the right side is the stretch growth. Nationally, between 25 and 35% of students reach their aspirational stretch growth measures. So we do have quite a few grade levels, particularly the primary grades, that have met that percentage and more. And I do think that that is testament to the district's work in the previous years about really focusing on those primary grades with the MTSS, with the supports. We're seeing that showing in our data here for our primary grades. So in January, when we take the assessment again, we want to see 50% growth because that would be matching where we would expect them to be at that time of the year. Okay. And reading. So again, the progress is telling teachers how much growth a student has made in terms of their skill and understanding, and the percentages met is determining whether students are on track to meet those goals. And so that helps us define the goals and see if the goals that were set for the students is actually helping them meet meet the goals that they're at. So many, many data points that we can look at already, but I think also it's notable to say, it's kind of off the screen, but the number of students who are assessed, like in grade K, it was 71 out of 71. Grade 1 was 57 out of 57. So it's really a true measure of what the grade levels data is, because we didn't have those opt-outs or refusals like you see in some other tests. This really is a snapshot of all of the kids in the grades taking this assessment. And here's just an example of individualized measures that we can see. So these are 3 different students. The first example is showing a student who is, these are 5th grade math examples, showing a 2nd grade measure. You see the typical growth is at 445, it stretches 467, but still the green area is grade level, so that student, the stretch is not quite hitting grade level yet, but that's not to say that the next measure and the next assessments won't reach that. For a student in the middle who's just below grade level, you see that their typical aim is right at kind of like the mid-grade level area with the stretch even higher. And then students on the right, the student on the right who's already at grade level, there's a typical measure to meet, but yet there's a stretch for that student as well. So not only are we hoping kids are performing at grade level, but the kids that are doing well, we really want to push and stretch them up higher with the data that we're seeing. Oops, I went backwards. Ooh, all right. So academic excellence. So one of the that is a student who is in our 4-6 class. The students developed the engagement continuum with their own ideas of what their area should be, and was very proud to show that up. So we utilize foundations and literacy footprints into reading. They're all comprehensive literacy programs designed to support reading and writing skills. iReady Math and Reading, which is our comprehensive digital program designed to support personalized learning. We use Mystery Science, which is hands-on science lessons to help our students explore scientific concepts in a fun and engaging way. And social studies, we have the curriculum, the Northern Westchester BOCES developed a curriculum based on the New York State Social Studies framework that we use. Also, one of the things, this year we have a new staff member in the library media specialist, and we really, working with her, talking about how we can rethink what library is, really focusing on the library and media part of it. I have a passion for educational technology myself, and just touching base with her and really seeing what her ideas are about what we can do in that space. You all have toured the space, it's a beautiful space. What kind of project-based learning, hands-on work can we do that will augment the library curriculum that they're doing as well. We also do character ed through our core values. We do monthly all-school assemblies. This December we had one on compassion. So we have, so on the top left, students are learning about erosion, and they're eroding sugar cubes. In the top middle, we have a student doing an art project outside where they had to find items and then draw their versions of it. On the top right, we have students working on viscosity and different parts of lava and how that affects the stone parts of lava. Bottom left are first graders partner reading in a choice that they picked on the floor. We love alternative seating areas and places where they can get comfortable. The bottom middle is a picture of Miss Cook in our library. She was doing a book tasting where she was showing students how they can look at the cover, they can look at the brief info on the back of a book, take a few paragraphs to see if you like the book, just to kind of learn how they can explore what kind of books they want to take out in the future. And we have 6th graders who were working in groups to analyze quotes from a text, and they were doing I wonder, I think, and learning from what everybody else wrote to share their thoughts on that outside in the hallway. All right, so under family and community engagement, that's definitely one of the focus areas that we have at BLT, and we'll chat about that later in the presentation. But one of the things that we did was send out a family survey because we wanted to see what kind of events, what kind of information parents and families were interested in learning about Cahill. And we got some interesting feedback where it was, believe it or not, things like arts and crafts and movie nights and game nights. We thought it might be something like learning about the curriculum or homework help, but it was all about fun, like family nights. And so we're definitely planning on having a game night / bingo night for January to get some more students and families in our buildings after hours. PTA has been fantastic, supporting our field trips, bringing in assemblies, our fundraising events are a lot of fun, the book fairs, teacher grants. I think we've gotten, every teacher that wanted to do a grant was definitely heard and supported through our PTA. We're doing our holiday shop next week, so we're looking forward to that. And our community partnerships, so we're so lucky to be in the heart of the village here and being able to work with all of the businesses and places around here. So some of these places have donated material items to our school for fundraisers or for events, and some were just people that we could partner with and learn with and visit with, and so we're just very thankful that we could be supported by our local businesses. So here are some pictures. Top left is our Halloween hootenanny. So this year we were trying to think about ways to reimagine events that happened at Cahill, BC before COVID. And there were, I think because of COVID, there was trunk or treats and events like that happened outside. But the idea of doing a Halloween hootenanny, which is when people kind of trick-or-treated through the hallways here, was something that happened in the past and we wanted to bring back again. So I do like the idea of identifying and thinking about events that were important to families in the past and bringing that back as part of our process now. Mark Russ was a person that was brought in as a PTA assembly last week who was fantastic, did a multicultural holiday show for us. It was a lot of fun, everybody enjoyed that. And bottom left, we have Isabella, who is a kindergartner working with an Ivy Lodge resident during fall, doing a fall craft, so that was really great. Student Council, bottom middle, supported our Ivy Lodge veterans. It's a great pick there. And then on the bottom right, the Nutty Scientist was brought in from PTA again, so a lot of really great events for our kids brought in by our PTA. All right, so professional culture. We do have data review through our collaborative learning community, so that's our grade level team meetings, our department meetings, teaching and learning meetings, which are after school, instructional coaching, which is one-to-one with our teachers, ongoing PD sessions, superintendent conference days. In the building, we have some committees that are established to kind of bring attention to things that we might want to improve or start or grow. PTA Liaison is a group of staff that go to our PTA meetings and then are able to report out to the greater faculty, staff, community what's going on. Building Advisory is our group of people, our administrators and our union representation, where we talk all things Cahill and how we can make Cahill great. M&M is our morale and motivation group. It's kind of like our fun little whimsy group where last year we did on leap year we hit like frogs, and kids had to find the frogs, and we had a celebration for that. This we do like Cahill candy cards and things like that to bring whimsy and fun. STEAM, again, this is super early. I spoke a little bit about that, but Ms. Cook and our intermediate science teachers are really interested in really developing some STEAM events, not necessarily a science fair per se, but somewhere where we can do like hands-on, project-based, genius hour, those kinds of activities. And we're excited to talk further about what that might look like. We have a safety team and BLT building leadership team. And district committees that we have, our staff members are involved in the policy committee, safety committee, curriculum committee, a lot of curriculum work over the summer with our grade level teams. Our TSS teachers worked hard this summer on supporting the curriculum as well. And so the student experience. So we have student clubs and activities. So our drama club is doing Willy Wonka this year. Student government does a lot of really great stuff. We saw already a picture of them working with the veterans. We have student spirit days, which is probably one of my favorite things about working in elementary school, spirit days, and just a lot of really great events to get kids involved in the school spirit of Cahill. Cahill Community Club is doing a drive right now to have food and pet supplies for the Saugerties shelter. We're collecting right now for them. And we also wanted to think about things that we could do in place of the extended day, because those events weren't able to happen this year because of the budget. And so we were able to have staff members volunteer their time to, and share their interests with our kiddos to do dance club, which is kind of a fun thing. Running, walking club. It was really a running club, but we're starting off walking. That group told us that there is, if you walk around the school on the sidewalk, that's half a mile. So if you do 52 circles, you're running a marathon. And so that's one of the goals of the running club, is to run a marathon at Cahill. Chess club was actually brought up because Miss Taylor and a friend Christine came to me and said, listen, we like chess. We want to see if we can do that. They made a proposal. We talked about how we would need materials for that, like boards. What would we do if kids didn't know how to play? And voila, from their work, we had a chess club. Arts and Crafts Club was started by Mrs. Farrell, a kindergarten teacher, who realized that there wasn't a lot of stuff for primary kiddos, and so she volunteered to work with our first graders for Arts and Crafts Club. And then we have homework help and E&L support as well after school. So those are our Tuesday, Wednesday clubs after school. BLT representation, our 6th grade students, we're going to hear from them a little later. And then student voice. You know, there are things that I had done in a previous position where it was almost like a leadership council with students. We do have meetings and students are able to come to me, but I really think that I'm going to kind of meld that into a group where students can have a more regular kind of discussion about ideas that they have, because this 6th grade group is very politically aware and willing to participate and share, so we definitely want to give them those opportunities. And project proposal, I mentioned a little bit about chess club. There was another project that a student brought to me for recess activities that, again, I said, you know, write the proposal, how much will it cost, how many people are involved, what are the rules, what are the areas you're using, and they made the proposal, and it was a success. So we want to keep making sure that the students have their voice and are heard in their desires. So on the top left, we have our students. So we had students speaking in front of all of the 5th and 6th grade students and talking about why they were running for their positions. So we have the top middle is the Arts and Crafts Club. We have the Chess Club. Bottom left was one of those spirit days. It was Decades Day, so we have the 60s and 80s picture there. After that is our Student Council Social. They look very fancy and lovely there. Fall Parade was something that we did inside the building, and then we went outside for families to come and watch their students and then come back in the building. And then the dance club, the pictures on the right of the kiddos doing dance club right here in the space. So building leadership team, we are made up of admins and teachers and TAs and parents and students. We are covering special ed, gen ed, MTSS, ENL. Our school advocacy specialist joins us as well. And our goals were to support and increase homeschool connection through family events, and that's where that survey kind of was initiated from. And then we wanted to target writing with an emphasis on creative expository and opinion writing, and we wanted students to be able to improve their literacy over the content areas, so not just at the ELA block, but in all areas, right? So we want to see that writing happen in science, writing happen in social studies, writing happen in art class. You know, we really want that to be a focus this year. And also, we have some students who said, but hold on, I want to explore more student-led activities, not just events where we can attend, but where we are leading. So, without further ado, I'd love to introduce Elise, Eliza, and Chase to come up.
name is Eliza Dean, and I am a sixth grade student here at Cahill. I decided to join the BLT group once I heard I could help make a difference for my fellow students. I am lucky because I get to help to make suggestions for things for all of us as students to do here. So far, as a student rep, I have gotten to host 2 assemblies, and we even wrote and performed a skit. I am so happy with my decision to become one of the student reps in the BLT. Thank you. My name is Elise Maurer, and I am a 6th grade student here at Cahill. Eliza told me about the BLT and asked if I would like to join with her, so I said sure. My favorite part of being a rep is being able to be involved in whole school assemblies. I feel so important because I get to help make suggestions on things we do in the school. Thank you. Hello, my name is Jason O'Connell. I'm in the 6th grade student at Cahill. I did not start as a member of the BLT group in the beginning of the year because I wasn't sure if it was for me. After watching my friends Eliza and Elise at school, I heard all about the awesome things we are doing for our students. I thought I just had to join. I started off by helping Eliza write the script for our 6th grade skit. Then I got to be in a performance of it. Then we performed in the whole school assembly on December 9th. Now today I'm here at the board meeting talking to all of you. I am so happy to be a part of the building leadership team as the 3rd student rep. I cannot wait to see all we have planned for the year as our final year in Cahill. Thank you.
All right, so it's a very prideful thing for me to be able to say that I am a lead learner at Cahill Elementary. It's a fantastic place to be with fantastic students, fantastic staff, fantastic families. So thank you all for this opportunity to share a little bit of Cahill with you all.
All right, thank you, Ms. Cahill, and thank you to the students. That was fantastic, especially the skit. Next up on our agenda is public recognition. So if there's anybody in the audience who would like to come up and speak, now is the time for that. All right, Dr. Ursik, Superintendent's report.
Forward, I'm going to propose that we shuffle things up a little bit. We do have Mr. Kevin King from First Student who is with us. I did ask him to come tonight because there's an opportunity for First Student to submit a proposal or a grant proposal for electric buses on our behalf. So I was hoping he would share and the board can ask some questions and get some greater understanding.
Thank you, Dr. Is this on? Hello?
Just pull it to the...
Hello?
Hello? All right, there we go. Thanks, Dr. Ursik, and thanks to the board for this time tonight. As you may know, New York State has 2 mandates pending for student transportation. The first being beginning in 2027, any new buses bought for student transportation in New York need to be, well, essentially electric. And by 2035, full fleet conversions need to take place. So every bus in the fleet needs to go electric. At the present time, the EPA has what's called the Clean School Bus Rebate Program. It was $5 billion in funds allocated through the Environmental Safety Act, and right now we are coming up on the application period for round 4. At the end of that period, we will have the government will have allocated about $3.8 billion. So it leaves about $1 billion to go after this, assuming that the next administration does not take those funds back. So it's critical right now. Why I stand here today is to ask your support for us to apply on your behalf for electric school buses. Electric school buses are typically about 2 times more than a fossil fuel bus. So this grant money is critical for us in achieving our goals in terms of meeting the New York State mandates, as well as our company goal of having 30,000 electric school buses by 2035. Currently, we have about 45,000 buses on the road. So just a quick run through, why electric buses? Electric buses provide tremendous benefits for students, communities, and the environment. Quantify some of those benefits. Students that ride in electric school buses have shown to be demonstrably better in school in terms of performance as they arrive to school better prepared to learn on a quiet electric school bus ride versus over a diesel school bus. Excuse me. The health safety benefits of an electric school bus, there's no diesel particulate in the cabin. Student asthma is perhaps, I believe, the leading health cause of absenteeism in the United States, and studies show that electric school buses reduce the effects of the impact of asthma on students who ride electric school buses. School buses that are electric can reduce maintenance costs upwards of 30%. The buses deploy what's called regenerative braking. So when a bus is going up a hill, it's going to use more power. But as it comes down a hill, if the driver comes off of the gas or the accelerator, there is no gas, the bus will begin to automatically slow, and what happens is the engines essentially reverse and it feeds kinetic energy back into the batteries, extending the range on that single charge there. So it's an important feature, although based on the routes we've seen here at Saugerties, we're very comfortable with the fact that just about any electric bus will meet all the routes that we support you with. Diesel prices are on the rise and electric prices are going down. There's also the potential beyond student transportation to support grid resiliency through vehicle-to-grid and vehicle-to-building technology. I won't get into that now, but as we move forward with this, and if we do implement electric buses into the fleet, we will look to be able to utilize that available technology working with your utility. Noise reduction creates a safer and more peaceful environment for students to begin and end their school day. Now, the advantage of working with First Student on this is that right now we have the largest fleet of electric school buses in North America. We currently have 400, and we are in the process of taking delivery on about another 2,000 within the next 12 months. One of the knocks on electric school buses is that they don't operate well in cold weather. We are cold weather experts on these things. In Quebec, at one of our locations in La Salle, just outside of Montreal, we did a full conversion, 130 buses, all electric. We don't have one backup diesel bus, one backup gas bus. Last year, temperatures reached 35 below in Montreal. Those buses were warmed up, ready to go, and operated to full capacity on every single day. We didn't lose one day of bus operation to the cold weather. So that's one of the big myths. The other one, obviously, is they won't meet our range. They won't go far enough, but right now there are buses that can go over 200 miles. So the two of the big myths about electric school buses can be dispelled from our experience operating them. Electrification efforts are supported by a dedicated in-house team, one that I'm a part of. It's a multifaceted team. We have grant writers, we have EV specialists, we have engineers, we have architects. We have just about everything we can do to support it. Right now our EV team is about 25 members, and we currently have about 130 EV projects in flight. So we have a lot of experience doing what we're proposing to do here. We provide extensive driver and mechanical training, as well as regular scheduled and preventive maintenance on the buses. We will only deploy EVs where it meets the operational demands of the school district transportation services. We're not trying to force this onto anybody or onto any route. We'll do a thorough route analysis of each one, and as I said, we've done a preliminary one, and we see no issues here, but we'll factor in terrain, temperature, distance, a whole number of factors, so we know that if we deploy a bus, it's going to meet that route's needs. We do electrification better because we are school bus operators and we deliver students to school every day. It's all we do. We're a school bus student transportation company. And one of the advantages we have is we buy more school buses in a calendar year than any other company, any district, anybody in the world. So we have strong buying power, which is critical. As I've said, these school buses cost a lot more than a fossil fuel vehicle. So our purchasing power helps to further mitigate the additional cost. And while it doesn't create a parity with a fossil fuel bus, it does bring the cost down significantly. With grants, it could even bring it down perhaps to less than the acquisition cost of a fossil fuel vehicle. Let's see. We have a testimonial here. It runs about 3.5 minutes. I don't think we need to go through that now. The EPA Clean School Bus Program, as I said, is in round 4. The funding program has been authorized by the bipartisan infrastructure law for replacement of diesel school buses with zero-emission buses. Round 4 will disseminate at least $965 million for school bus replacement. And it's kind of a buy one, lose one approach. If you get with every application we submit, if we ask for 10 buses, we have to submit the information on the 10 buses we're going to scrap and take off the road. And we cannot deploy those buses to another location. They have to be rendered inoperable to be in compliance with the grant protocol here. The EPA expects to award 60% of the funding to priority districts and 40% to non-priority. Saugerties is a non-priority district. So we would be, but we feel confident. We've had a lot of success. To date, we have received somewhere north of $440 million from the federal government for school bus replacement through the EPA Clean School Bus Program. It is a rebate program versus a grant. And it's important to note that in a rebate program, there's no out-of-pocket to us as a contractor. So the rebate would come, the money from the grant would go directly to the manufacturer off the cost of the bus. So it lessens the out-of-pocket, the capital expenditure that we would have to incur on behalf of the district. First student can submit one application per customer school district for up to 50 buses. Now, you have multiple vendors here. You have us, I believe you have Lizette, and perhaps one other one. We can do all the heavy lifting on this, the grant application, we can do all that, but we could only submit for our buses. If the district were to want to go ahead with the application, but include buses from the other contractors, the district would have to submit the application. We can certainly help you with that, but we cannot submit it because as part of the award, we are required to report data for about a 5-year period in terms of energy cost savings, greenhouse gas reduction emissions and all that. And we simply wouldn't have access to that data from the other contractors. So for us to, the most efficient way for us to do it would be, and I believe we are the majority contractor for the district, would just to be to apply to replace first student buses. For non-priority school districts, due to reduced funding, additional criteria can be considered for application, such as in New York State, NYSERDA, which is the New York State Environmental Research Development Authority, has what's called the New York State Bus Incentive Program. So we can get additional funds through what's called NYSBIB and stack them on top of the EPA funds. You can't combine 2 federal funds or 2 state funds, but we can combine or stack a federal and a state fund together. So we would certainly be applying on behalf of both of those. The application deadline is January 9th to the EPA, but the reality is with all the applications we have going in, we really want to get all these in probably in the next week to 10 days. So there is kind of a time crunch for us. Priority school districts would receive up to $325,000 in funding. As a non-priority, we would get $170,000 for Saugerties. But beyond that, we can get probably north of $75,000 to $90,000 from New York State. So when you look at the 2 amounts combined, it brings it upwards to, it would bring it up to about $270,000, approximately, perhaps $260,000. And it's almost equivalent, our out-of-pocket would be about equivalent to the cost of acquiring a gas or a diesel bus if successful with both grant applications. Again, just a little summary. The priority school districts they're prioritized according to a number of factors. Poverty criteria, rural designation, tribal designation. There's an air quality factor that goes into that as well. Public charters can self-certify, so if they're not in a priority district and they have a number of economic factors that they feel would help them meet this designation, they can self-certify through this program. School districts can only self-certify as high need. I looked into it, we don't believe Saugerties we could self-certify here. The program criteria is a minimum of 1 bus, maximum of 50. The replacement buses must be 2010 or older diesel buses or 2011 or newer diesel buses. So it gives us a lot of latitude in this. And that's something they've made easier, because when they first started doing this in 2020, the criteria was 2007 or older. And there was not at that point a lot of 13-year-old school buses on the road. And with succeeding rounds, they've come up with this government political doublespeak here that says if it's older than this or newer than this, it works. So we don't question why, we just do what we can to get it. As I said, there's only 1 application per district. We can cascade buses within states or between states. And what that means is, so I think our contract term, we have 4 more years left with you. We have to report the data, as I said, for 5 years. If 4 years from now you decide to operate your own fleet, or you decide to go with another vendor, we can take those buses and move them to another customer of ours to meet the EPA reporting criteria and the grant fund criteria. EPA will prioritize buses that serve prioritized districts, but again, there is a 20% disparity in the amount of funds they're allocated, but there still is 40% of that $965 million that is going to be available to non-priority districts. The buses must meet what's called BABA, Buy American, Build American requirements in order to meet the grant criteria. So every bus, everything that we buy will be made in the USA. All the batteries, everything will be assembled and manufactured in the United States. The rebate can be used also, we can use it as a combination toward the bus and infrastructure. And there used to be a designation, it was X number for the bus and X number for infrastructure, but now they've eliminated that. We can spend that money as we see fit in the most economical means to achieve what we're trying to achieve here. Beyond that, there is also what's called make-ready funds. I believe this is a Central Hudson utility area. They participate in the make-ready program. So upon successful application for buses, we would begin working with the utility to receive a grant to offset upwards of 90% of the cost for infrastructure and what's called behind the meter. So everything up to the charges, essentially, we could potentially get additional rebates on. Each application, and that's why I'm here tonight, in part, each application requires 3 signatures for us to submit with it. 1 from the school board, 1 from the district administrator, and 1 from the utility. And the reason why the EPA is going through this, in the first round, approximately 22% of the funds were not utilized, they were returned. And the goal is to utilize all this money, not to put it back in the bank. One of our customers, just not too far north of here, Ontiora, turned down north of $6 million. And you know, knowing what you guys are going through in terms of funding and the budget battles you fight all the time, to me it was somewhat incredulous that the district would turn down $6 million, but they did. But the thinking is that if we have district sign off, we have school board sign off, and the utility says we can support this project, the likelihood of funds not being awarded and not being utilized are lessened significantly. So that's why they had that exercise. And, the timeline is this: the program opened on September 26th. By November 20th, we would have liked to have had the participation certificates from the district, but obviously we've extended that. We'd still like to have district sign off by the 13th if possible. We're trying to compile all the materials by December 24th, and we hope to submit by January 3rd. Again, the deadline for application is the 9th. We anticipate in May there will be a notice of selection if we are successful on your behalf, and then between June and November we would have to submit payment request forms with the purchase orders, and we would have to take delivery and implement those buses within the 2-year period, approximately May of 2027. Again, for whatever the reason, if we do apply on your behalf, and as I've alluded to, the EPA is trying to eliminate unutilized, underused funds, But if for some reason it just did not work out, the dollars didn't pencil out the right way, you're not obligated to go ahead and take those electric buses. But keep in mind that mandate of 2027 is essentially 2027 when discussing a project of this type begins today. Because it's my understanding at this point, Central Hudson has perhaps between a 15 to 18 month wait for upgrade projects at sites and bringing in the additional power. The bus manufacturers are looking at anywhere from a 10 to a 15 month lag on orders. So 2 years is not that far away when it comes to meeting the mandates that New York State has proposed at this point in time. There has been some discussion that there may be exemptions available on a per district basis for the 2027 timeline. But in a discussion with someone at New York State DOT, they said they won't have that application available, if it will be available, until 2027. So we have to move forward as if there is going to be no extension, there is going to be no delays, and we've got to meet all the measures as imposed by the state on your behalf. And I think that's all I have tonight. Questions? Glad it's not just me. I can hear you, but not on the mic.
Okay, so, yeah, short time, right? So I do have a couple questions and then we go. I would imagine, so these are, when we're talking about, for lack of a better term, these are the large buses?
Type C's or D's. They're also type A's that are eligible for funding in this.
Okay.
So these are buses that hold like 72 kids?
Typically, a type C or D will be 66 and up, yes.
So when we say it's for 10 buses, I mean, the terminology in there seems a little, right? We keep saying on our behalf. They're not our buses.
They're not.
We contract all of our busing to you, so if we decide to say in 4 years we're done, the buses are really per student.
We would own the
This is
asset.
really looking for, the grant here needs a partner district for you to sign on.
In essence, yes.
Okay. My last question, besides being good environmental citizens, what's the benefit to us? What benefit does the district see besides we're deploying 10 electric buses?
Potentially, as you move forward, as I stated in the presentation, fuel prices are going up. It's always an unstable commodity. We don't know what it's going to be from now until February 1st. Electric prices are somewhat static. The operating savings on energy right now we're seeing is approximately 70%.
You're not essential, that's okay.
Yeah. And that's before doing any kind of vehicle to grid product. So it does offer perhaps a lower expense to us going forward, which in turn could translate to lower cost to you, the first student.
Okay. Anybody else?
I do have questions.
Yeah.
And I just want to clarify, I guess, my questions may not seem like they're in any order, but $270,000, that's a total figure that you shared with us.
Yeah.
And that would be how many buses?
That's the grant money. The actual cost of the buses would probably be north of $350,000.
Okay. So do we have any way, is there any out-of-pocket expense for the district?
At the present time, no, there did not be.
Okay. You brought up Aniora. It was $8.3 million that they returned, and it was after several extensions that they had applied for, and they got tired of applying for the extensions.
Right.
And I think one of the quotes, it was either from the business official or the superintendent, was they don't want to build an airplane in the air, an oft-used phrase or analogy, whatever you want to call it. And they returned that money. You brought it up. How is our situation different?
It's, first of all, we're closer to the mandate timeline now than we were then. Ultimately, they are reapplying and will be hoping to get funding from this round as well. Because we have to meet the mandate on that behalf as well. There's also I talked about earlier, there's a couple of anxieties. There's range anxiety, they won't operate in cold weather and things of that nature. And there were other factors in play there that I would say are not suitable public conversation here. But more often than not, we deal often, I should say not necessarily, more often, we deal with perceptions that are not accurate as it relates to electric transportation. Some people have absolutely just dug their heels and said, I'm not going electric, no matter what. So how is it different? Buses, back then we were looking at perhaps second generation buses. Now there's third generation buses. Technology's better, range is better, battery capacities are stronger and greater at this point in time. So it's essentially the same product, but it's improved from that point in time. As to how it's different than what their situation was, that's unique to each district. I really couldn't comment on that.
Okay. One of their concerns was for out-of-pocket expenses, but there will be no out-of-pocket expenses for Saugerties.
At the present time, there's none that I'm aware of.
And that includes, creating the energy infrastructure, right? I mean, this is, any money that goes towards infrastructure is going to be on your grounds, your facility?
It would be on our property, yes.
Okay.
We have actually created, as part of this, part of our efforts, we have now a provisional patent on infrastructure technology, and it's completely above grade. It eliminates digging and trenching, and we at the present time are seeing upwards of 30 to 40% savings on our installations because everything is above grade. No tearing up parking lots, putting them back together. It's a really unique application that we built here, and it's getting a lot of interest, not just in school bus, but outside, medium heavy duty truck, real estate development, things of that nature. As more and more people go electric. But anyhow, long story short is we've designed this so that we can cut down on the cost and hopefully eliminate costs that we would have to pass along.
Have we any numbers that indicate what the cost savings would be? Because again, if we're paying attention, this is going to happen. 2027, this is going to happen. 2035, that's fine. You're talking about cost savings to per student. How is that going to be manifested for us in the district?
Well, again, if we can keep our costs down, the cost of operating a bus routes could remain static. Will it go down? Probably not, because labor costs and everything else, property taxes and things of that nature. But it could help to contain the cost that we have to charge to the district. Mm-hmm. Will it translate into a saving? No, I don't think it will, not in 5 years. Too many things to tell. But again, from an operational perspective, we're seeing about 70% energy cost savings, and we're seeing about 50 to 60% on maintenance. An electric school bus has one moving part, a rear drive motor. That's the only moving part. There's approximately 30 parts on an electric bus versus 1,000. We don't have to do oil changes. We don't have to do tune-ups. We don't have to do any of that stuff. So we're seeing significant savings. And we're also seeing these buses may have a longer life than a fossil fuel bus. Our buses at the 6 or 7 year mark begin to break down more frequently, higher repair costs, higher operating costs, conversely. With these, right now, we're seeing about a 1.5 to 2% degradation rate on the battery. So in theory, 10 years from now, we're still going to have 80% of capacity in that battery to operate a route. Could lower our replacement cost. There's a host of benefits that I can't document today, will say resulting in this, and this in terms of savings, but it's part of our overall plan to keep our costs down in terms of what we have to factor in when we price out a district like Saugerties.
So you're bullish on this, and we have no obligation.
We're bullish on this.
Very bullish, and we have no obligation.
If you're not obligated to it. We're not obligated to put these buses on the road on your behalf. If the district says no, it's no.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Anybody down here? Yeah.
I think you mentioned that the grant funds can be used for buses or for infrastructure, the charging infrastructure? Is the district involved in any of that decision making as to whether the grant funds are used towards buses or infrastructure, or is that completely up to first?
We own the assets. It's been up to us how to best utilize and deploy the funds and build the infrastructure. Okay. But if the district's interested in having input, we're certainly not opposed to that.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
If I could just summarize and maybe ask a question or two as well, I think the board would be interested in hearing. Right, so number one, I'm hearing that, right, it's by signing or passing the resolution tonight and then ultimately signing, there is no obligation to go ahead and buy it if we are awarded.
Correct at all. Correct.
Okay, that's number one. Two, the first student owns all the buses, all the assets, so at the end of our contract, if we were to go a different way, we would have no ownership of anything.
Correct.
Okay. What mechanism do we have to ensure that the buses that are specified for Saugerties stay in Saugerties and transport Saugerties students?
That's a good question. There's always a level of trust in any business relationship, but if we've gotten those funds for Saugerties, we're not going to use them in Wappingers.
So to that point, would first student be amenable to ultimately having a conversation about some form of contract or agreement, right, saying we're purchasing this resources they should use for Saugerties students. Other things would be kind of purchasing, making sure we go out to bid, and kind of getting the best value for
the buses?
Yeah.
We have already, again, given the fact that we buy north of 10 to 15,000 buses a year, we have already done an RFP process independent of any district with the manufacturers. And we are down to two. There are essentially three big bus manufacturers, Bluebird, Thomas, and IC. We have allocated 100% of our business to Thomas and IC at this point in time. So we have done that RFP. If it was something that you felt a need to have information on or talk to our director of procurement about, I'm sure I can make that conversation happen.
And then lastly, just to point out, right, so we're having this conversation today. The reality is our students may not ride an electric bus for 2 years, maybe 3 years out. By the time things are ordered, designs are in play, buses actually arrive.
I would say that it would be 26-27 school year. Yeah.
And being the priority, we'll guarantee we're going to get the grant.
There's no guarantee any district's going to get the grant.
Right.
But again, there are less funds available, but you are equally, your opportunity is equal to any other non-priority district.
Anybody have anything else? All right. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
If we could jump into second BBL.
You're just completely redoing the schedule.
Hey guys.
You're still on here?
Yeah. 10 seconds.
Yeah, we got dead air here, right?
They were watching the PowerPoint hourglass behind us. All right. No comments.
All right. Again, good evening. Jeff Andrews of EDL. Jim Rivard, Tetra Tech. Going through a couple of the updates here for capital. Going through a couple of the updates on the capital project. All right. So, again, going through the agenda, we're going to talk about the main capital improvement project, the Morse Elementary School additional site work bid package, looking at that next year, the building condition survey that Tetra Tech has performed throughout the school district and steps with that, a couple of the capital outlay projects, the Cahill Elementary School Fire Alarm Emergency Project, and an opportunity for questions at the end. I'll go back just now. For the capital project, the phase 2 work that we've got going on, we've met the project closeout period here. We do have some items yet remaining at various schools throughout the district. Within the junior, senior high school, We are doing some commissioning of the HVAC. For those that might not be familiar with commissioning, that is a process by which we go through on the mechanical equipment, make sure that things are turning on when they're supposed to, shutting off when they're supposed to, proper ventilation is occurring, so sending through the right amount of CFM or cubic feet per minute through various pieces of equipment, that the automation system is doing what it needs to make sure that we're keeping space temperatures accurate, carbon dioxide percentages accurate, etc. We've got generator startup that we're looking to achieve the week of Christmas. We've got final connection for mechanical looking on that Monday, and then later that week trying to do the electrical startup. And then we do have some owner requested changes in the building, IO lighting and access control that are being done in the following year, 2025, early January. Cahill Elementary School, we have completed the work here, and we've got going on this week on second shift some remediation around the windows, basically trying to get some of those items patched up when windows were removed and there was some small damage around them. At Morse Elementary School, again, similarly, we're doing some commissioning there, and we've got a coiling door that we need to have a replacement part installed on and get that operating properly. Mount Marion Elementary School next week, we'll be working on the cabinet unit heater. There's some items there that's not following the automation it's supposed to be going through. And then throughout the building itself, we've got some punch list items. These are items where work is installed, maybe a door is not functioning as it should. There may be some aspects of aesthetics that need to be taken care of. So we've got that going on. Final training for anything that we've got within the project, and then putting together, providing to the district the operation and maintenance manual so they are familiar with what needs to be done as we move along. We've kind of presented this slide over and over again, showing the work that we had planned, kind of starting at the top, the roofing work we are complete. Junior, senior high school track that was completed really last year. The Morse addition is complete, and we're at that closeout portion of that phase 2 as we're ending out the year. We've got some photos kind of showing the completion work that's out there at the various buildings. These are a sampling of the work that was done. At the junior, senior high school, again, we did resurface the track. And if you look kind of toward the south of the high school and junior high, you can see the progression that we've made of rerouting traffic, additional pavement, and the like. Within the junior, senior high school, we provided secure vestibules, a snapshot of that vestibule. Those vestibules were done throughout the school district in varying degrees of finish and color type. In the junior, senior high school, we did do a lot within the gymnasium, new operable partition, new bleachers and gym equipment, the basketball hoops, etc. We also completed a renovation within the auditorium, new seating, new flooring, new color for the ceiling paint. Within Cahill, again, we placed a lot of the exterior windows, and we made the front entry ADA accessible. Within that vestibule, we've installed a lift that will be able to bring anybody up to the first floor. Another photo of a secure vestibule. This one's over at Morse. And then a photo of the stage addition that was there. So as we bring I guess we're closing the curtain on the 2025 year, and Jim's going to kind of step into where we're going in 2026. Sorry, 2024 and 2025.
Thanks, Jeff. So some of the next things that we're looking at are additional site work bid package. We've talked about that before at Moore's. What you see in the bubbled area is something that we're having a conversation with SED on as a potential expansion there. So that piece would be contingent upon the outcome of that. However, the rest of what you're seeing on this drawing with the play area, part of the bus loop, and then the walkway that is on the right-hand side of the page that goes over to Buffalo Road, those would all be part of that bid package. So the intent is to get that out on the street, as we say, to bidders in January and then have the work completed in 2025. So with the building condition survey, we've talked about this before, but basically the last piece that we needed to do, which we did at our December 4th meeting with the facilities committee, was review the 5-year plan, which the executive summary is part of that. The executive summary, you may recall, is the important piece because it goes with every capital project submission to SED. And SED is basically making sure that the scope of the project that's being submitted is represented on there. So that's kind of a living document, if you will, based on what those project submissions are. But with that, basically, really the BCS now really serves for the district as a planning tool as part of future capital project needs. That is completed. For the 23-24 capital outlay project, I do have some good news to report. If you recall, that's the flooring at Riccardi. On this screen, it's actually the 2 rooms in the bottom left of the plan that are in that light blue, the base bid. Those, we actually did have a bid opening. Oops, right button here. We did have a bid opening, and as a result, that was on December 3rd. There were 3 bidders that submitted, and Neoplanta Restoration was the low bidder. Tonight before the board, I believe there's the award recommendation letter to award to Neoplanta, and then hopefully getting that work underway rather quickly for the abatement of those 2 rooms over the holiday break. The flooring piece, as far as the installation of new flooring, that'll be by district forces. Part of that's going to be contingent upon when the new flooring materials, the LVT, which is kind of the standard that the district's been moving towards. It's in this building, for instance, the new flooring. Luxury vinyl tile is what that stands for. That hopefully can happen over the winter break, but chances are it may have to push a little bit, depending on the availability of materials. But the budget's in good shape, and things are moving forward on that front, so that's good news there. For the 24-25 capital outlay project, so that's also at Riccardi, but looking at a couple of exterior doors as well as making some accessible routes at that building from the outside. That one was actually, that project was submitted to SED on November 26th, and we're in the queue. So hopefully after the new year, SED, in my experience, not to jinx things, but they tend to start to pick up the review process on those projects just because they have an expiration date. But the idea is, depending on when that comes out of SED, hopefully to have the project bid in roughly the June timeframe, construction over this coming summer of 25, and then have substantial completion so the district can finalize everything by June of 26. So at this building, the fire alarm emergency project, so I actually had some follow-up conversations with the contractors with Fire Security and Sound Systems, FS&S. Their installer will be SAS, who is actually on the capital project as the electrical contractor. They were great to work with there, so that's actually good news to hear. ACM stands for Asbestos containing materials. There are still a few things in this building. There were some on-site conversations to find ways to route some of the new wiring and things to avoid impacting that, which was great news. It also reduces potential additional costs that would otherwise happen. FS&S is in the process of putting together submittals that they will send to us at Tetra Tech so that we can review, make sure they're in compliance, and then the contractor will begin ordering components. They've indicated that right now parts are readily available, so we're talking a couple of weeks, not months, things like that, which is great news. And then from a schedule standpoint, as far as the installation of the wiring, the commissioning, which Jeff talked a little bit about, similar has to happen with this, is about 3 months after the approved submittals. So I think for all intents and purposes, I would say through about May, June of 25 is probably when we're looking at completion of that piece. There won't, just to be clear, this building won't be without a fire alarm system. The existing system will still be in place. The new system will be installed concurrent with that system, and then there will be a switch over at the end so that the old system will come offline. You'll be served by the new system, and then they'll, upon making sure that the new system is functional, they will remove all the old components. So you won't be without a fire alarm system in this building. That was all we had for the presentation. Appreciate your time, and I don't know if there's any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
While they're working on getting that up, I just want to make sure, can you hear me? No.
How about now? There we go. All right, so you should have gotten a copy of the district plan that's being proposed that you'll be voting on later today. So my goal is to go over this very briefly because you have the detailed version and just highlight some current things in special ed. I know I'm coming back and doing a full presentation in the spring, so we'll just kind of go through the basics here for this plan. All right. So again, I'm the Director of Special Education. My name is Jamie Churchill. And hopefully this clicker's gonna work. There we go. All right, so just some action plan highlights. I know that we had a pretty in-depth audit last school year, and we're still working on a lot of those pieces. So some of the things we've already achieved this school year in moving towards what has been recommended as our special education landing page, a resource for all special education and related service staff, so that they can get quick access to all of the documents that I send out, and it just is a nice form of communication for all. We also worked on our special education handbook, which was a recommendation from that audit. We used the collaborative process. I want to thank Shauna Bruno, Laura Bubel, Katie Wiederspiel, and Kylie Leiter for a lot of work on that plan. It really is an internal document just to make sure we're following regulations and have kind of a nice process for everyone. And then I'll just thank also other lead teachers, our district chair, and our director of PPS who reviewed that document before we sent it out. We did update our Committee on Special Education chairperson structure. So this year, our Director of PPS is chairing some homeschool meetings and all of our CPSE meetings. We still have a district chair. They have taken over the counseling for our parentally placed locations, Middleway and Woodstock Day School, as well as chairing those meetings and continuing to do out-of-district chairing. And then as the Director of Special Ed, I will be chairing CSE meetings that involve increases in services and sensitive topics, initial meetings, and then I work with the psychs to determine any additional meetings to make sure that they're comfortable and we're kind of following all of our procedures. And then another highlight is completion of this special education district plan, which we'll get into momentarily.
some of our areas that we still need to focus on are distribution of services for kindergarten and first grade and 10 through 12. You'll see in a minute some of the limitations to our services there that we can continue to review, our special class reading services and the process for being eligible for those, as well as defining very specific special class profiles. We have descriptions, but I want more details so that we're able to reference them greater in the future. So that is a continued goal for the remaining of this year. All right, jumping right into the district plan that you guys have to review. The initial introduction is right out of the regulations. So section 200.2, which is the Board of Ed responsibilities, is to adopt a district plan. So here it is, and hopefully you'll adopt it or give suggestions. So one of these highlights is this chart kind of puts everything into perspective of what we offer in district here in Saugerties. The whole continuum is listed in the plan, but you'll note the special classes that are available in each building. I won't go into too depth of a description because some of our principals have already presented on them very recently to you, both at Morse and then earlier today, about those programs. But we do, I'll highlight at the junior and senior high. We now, in addition to the senior high life skills program, have a junior high life skills program. It's really referred to 16 and over and 16 and under. That was an addition this school year. And that's pretty much the only addition. You'll see how we deliver integrated co-teaching. It's kind of in its full form in 5th and 6th grade at Riccardi, Morse, and Cahill, and then it's just during the ELA and math blocks for certain grades, and then the older grades, ELA and social studies. And consultant teacher, direct or indirect, and related services are just offered at all grades wherever needed. Additionally, we provide preschool services. We do work with the county to provide these, and this addition this year was our physical therapist and a speech pathologist to really make sure that our students are getting the services that they need. But preschool provides everything from related services to an itinerant teacher, which is just a special education teacher that goes into their preschool setting. And then in special classes, there are integrated settings and non-integrated settings throughout the county that we do send students to. The tail end of the continuum is students who need extended school year, which we do have students who take advantage of. And we have private and state-operated schools, and as well as students who attend residential schools. So the second part of the requirement here is that we list our classification and disability data. You'll see here kind of an overview. So the programs, and it talks about the number of students who have that program recommended for them. If you add up, some students have multiple programs, right? They might be in special class reading and also get integrated co-teaching, or they might have some related, well, this is related services only. So they might also get extended school year, but be in a special class program throughout the day. So the total number there is not a relevant kind of piece of information, but that's how often we're recommending those levels of services in programs. And then on the right, you'll see the disability data, which is the 13 different classification categories that New York State has. Each student can only have one in New York State. So that total of 587 is the grand total of students with IEPs here in the district, although we still had initial eligibility meetings since I made this presentation, so it's already a little bit out of date, and that is what you're going to see entirely in this district plan, is that as soon as you guys vote on it, it's kind of already going to be old for annual review, but it's something to keep up with in the future. If you want some comparisons, so that's 516 CSE students, and 71 of them are CPSE students. Last school year, we had 546 CSE students, so we have increased about 50 students that are special education students this year, and I am attributing that to we had a large population of preschool students move up. We have a lot of transfers, happen to have IEPs that come into our district, more so than ones that are just general ed students, and then new initial CSEs for ongoing issues. And then I will say that we have 71 preschool students that are classified this school year currently, right at this time. And last year we had 80 throughout the whole school year, and we are only in December. So we have initials that will continue to roll in.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the 71 preschoolers, are those kids that are at the preschool? Are any of them there?
Some of them are there, some of them get related services there. That program is not,
Or in some other program?
so some of them are in other programs, some of them are just getting related services. Their providers come to see them at that program. And then the Anderson program that's there, it's not necessarily Saugerties students. They're just kind of renting a space, same like BOCES does.
This is a good time for a question.
Sure.
The numbers are tough to navigate, obviously, but, so what's our percentage right now of classified students?
So that is a little bit tricky, but according to New York State, 18%. But that, when you look at that data on our New York State report card, it's talking about our students that attend our district buildings. But we have 59 students who attend out-of-district placements, including BOCES. So those students aren't included in that, and that number is more, if we add them in there, we're really about 21, 22%.
And what the state used to have a suggestion, right? I mean, what is it that the state suggests we should have as far as classified population?
I believe the regulation is under 20%, or you become like a targeted school, basically. So they're looking at, it's really interesting. I've been having some conversations with our colleagues about that and how we're reporting to New York State and what makes sense there. So it doesn't seem to be a true reflection.
For somebody who's not a school person, when you say we become a target, is
that we have to put in some interventions in place, like we're over recommending special education services. They consider that a problem with kind of your initial eligibility process. If you're having too many, if you think about the multi-tiered systems of supports that schools are supposed to be using, we're not supposed to have that many students. That means that we need to change how we're teaching rather than giving everyone an IEP. And so that you can kind of reduce that number. That's, I think, the philosophy behind that.
So that's interesting because some of these numbers, or some of these categories I look at,
Right, that's a diagnosis of ADHD that did not come from our school, that came from, but we would be saying, our job as the CSE is to say whether that's impacting a student's educational performance. So even if you have a diagnosis, it doesn't mean you get an IEP. Mm-hmm.
So I just want to follow up too with the NDSS process and with our, the initials that we have scheduled, you said there's a whole bunch of them. Are we tracking statistics for this process? Do we know the rate at which you are classifying students if an initial referral is made?
Yes, so you'll see in my presentation in the spring, I'll update the comparisons of how many initials happened at each building and whether or not we're finding students eligible. We can't go over very specific students, obviously, but we can talk about the trends. I think that's also in common with our neighboring districts, though, is we're seeing more and more students being found eligible due to a variety of factors, probably that they missed a lot of education, and whether we're kind of coming to the point where did they miss instruction? We're kind of deciding that they're still struggling. It wasn't just about the missed instruction.
So the classification rate is not trending down now?
Correct.
Do you know how many students you've declassified this year?
I don't have that number off the top of my head, but I'll send it out.
I think that, as Mr. Floyd indicated, the students who arrive to us from other districts, a high percentage even have to IEP services already.
Okay. So then the number 3 in the plan, we have to talk about our department objectives and our methods for measuring them. So every year we're looking at pupil achievement across standardized diagnostic tests. We're using those same tests that are normed that multiple districts use in our area. We have our annual review process, which results in revising comprehensive IEPs. We use kind of more qualitative techniques like teacher observations, classroom observations, end of the year student summaries to have discussions about student progress. There is the reevaluation process, which is outlined by the commissioner's regulations. That is at a minimum every 3 years, but sometimes we do. If we see a student having success, we reevaluate them sooner so that we are able to declassify them and keep them in that least restrictive environment. Additionally, at a minimum, we would update this district plan, and I would do a similar presentation every 2 years. If we need to do it sooner, we would. Then we have to discuss our allocation of space for ourselves and for BOCES. So my kind of paragraphs there outline educating students with disabilities within the district whenever possible and keeping those students in our home schools. That's where we feel that students kind of belong. That would be our main mission, to keep them in that least restricted place. And we want to ensure that special education services are not denied due to a lack of physical space or providers. So we're doing our best to make sure we keep up with those requirements. We're conducting annual visits by district staff to assess the appropriateness of placements. Again, those 59 students that are in other programs, we want to make sure we have eyes on them at a minimum once a year. So it's either myself, Dr. Kepler, or our Ms. Price, our district chairperson. We also collaborate with Ulster BOCES to develop a regional plan and align with our state requirements. And when possible, we make space available for students from other districts requiring specialized programs and accommodate BOCES programs, which we're doing fabulous at here in Saugerties. I will say that when looking back at my lists this year, about 15 students were either prevented from an out-of-district placement or returned to the district from the previous school year. So we are trying to keep them in-house. Talking about access to instructional materials, these are some general statements that are very common across other district plans, which I did review in creating the plan for you all to review tonight. All instructional materials are available in alternative formats when students with disabilities need them, for example, an auditory format of something they're looking at in class. Then it does coincide with the general student access, so they don't get it later, they get it in a timely fashion. Special education teachers and service staff do have the same opportunity as their general ed peers to go over New York State learning standards through our professional development here in Saugerties. We also make sure that the curriculum is modified and instruction is differentiated to meet the IEP requirements as stated on IEPs. We also, I'll just highlight, make sure that they have the same materials for the special class programs that they have in their gen ed counterparts. So if a class is, let's say, multi-grade level, they have access to the grade level materials of their same regions bound gen ed peers. And we do recommend assistive technology. Sometimes it's just at school and sometimes it does go home if the student needs it. And when they take assessments, they're offered in alternative formats as needed. The special education budget slide is not entirely in the plan itself. The plan just outlines the 2023-2024 adjusted budget. So that's what it looked like, what we actually spent last school year. This I put up here so that you can compare kind of previous years to this current year as well. I will just say the caveat is that the current year is still happening, so we don't have closing numbers. And we estimated to make sure that we, additional placements, if they're to come up, we can afford those. And we are providing services to students who are awaiting placement. If you look at that contractual number there, a little bit of that has gone up because students who do not have a program yet and are awaiting that program, if they're not able to be served in one of our buildings, we do have to contract with people to get them their services. So there is an increase in spending, but there's also an increase in special ed students. And then this last slide is any questions.
Any questions on this side?
All right, thank you.
Good. All right, just a couple things before I dive into this very brief update. I just wanted to publicly thank Eldon Magnetics, Allendale Machinery, Viking Industries, and the Council for Industry. Over the past several months, we've had several meetings with them, really with three goals in mind. One is providing exposure to students about opportunities in manufacturing in the Hudson Valley, creating work-based learning challenges for our students, and then ultimately, down the road, I'd love to have internships for our students, work-based learning experience. So a big thank you to those groups for meeting with us. I also wanted to just thank the Sawyer Automotive Foundation, who has donated, will be donating $10,000 to our programs. Over the past couple of years, I've been told that they have donated over $100,000. So thank you to them. Just as a side note, we do have other amazing community partnerships going on. So we are working as a district to put them all in one document so that the public can see, how great our community is. All right, I just want to give a quick update. I did speak at the Saugerties Town Board meeting on November 20th about the Bishop's Gate parcel that we're hoping to take ownership of and put an access road in. Currently, we have a 60-day public comment period where I'll touch base with the property owner in the town to see if there are any concerns that have came forward from the community. As a reminder, when this road does go in, being optimistic, those individuals that live in the Bishop's Gate development would no longer be afforded busing. They would be considered walking because they would be within a half a mile of the school.
How does the community provide input? How does the public comment?
So as part of the agreement, I had to present at the town board, and then any concerns that the town board hears and the owner hears will be relayed back to me. Correct. Yes. This is about the road. 5th grade at Cahill, on the board resolution tonight is a resolution to create a 3rd section at Cahill due to increased enrollment. I just want to make that announcement so everybody's aware of that. And then lastly, I just want to touch base on reserves. So on the agenda tonight is a reserves report. For those not familiar with reserves who are watching at home, reserves accounts are for New York State public schools to serve as financial safety net to manage unforeseen expenses and stabilize long-term planning. These accounts help districts responsibly save for specific purposes while adhering to state regulation. A couple examples include emergency preparedness, right? So reserves provide funds to address unexpected situations, such as unplanned repairs, legal settlements, or other emergencies without disrupting the school's operating budget. Tax stabilization. By using reserves, districts can avoid sharp increases in property taxes when sudden expenses arise, ensuring consistent funding without surprising taxpayers. Planned investments. Certain reserves are earmarked for specific purposes, such as capital projects, retirement system contributions, or employee benefits. This ensures funds are available when needed without tapping into the general fund. Fiscal responsibility. Maintaining reserves demonstrates sound financial management and supports the district's credit rating, making it easier to borrow money at lower interest rates when necessary. Okay, so with that, we'll dive into some numbers. So first up, we have the tax share reserve. So this reserve is established so if individuals, homeowners, would like to argue that their assessment is lower than what the town has it at, they could get a tax refund from us. So for the current school year that we're in, there's an estimated overevaluation of $31 million out there. So that could possibly be, if all those hearings are in their favor, it would be a refund of about $388,000 in tax relief. That's just for 1 year. Usually the hearing takes several years, so they kind of compound or they go back in time as well. So we did increase that reserve to $675,000 over the summer. Capital projects, that's going to be used for voter-approved capital expenses. So we were able to put some additional funds there, $4.7 million. With this amount, and speaking with our financial planners, we could potentially go out for a capital project to put the road in at Riccardi, as well as other things. With our return with our state aid return on capital projects, we could potentially go out for roughly an $11 million project with no tax impact to our community. Unemployment reserve established for unemployment expenses. Unfortunately, this past year we did have layoffs. We did have 22 layoffs with 5 people returning to other positions. So we have already expensed some reserves or some money for unemployment, not from the reserve yet, but from our general budget. Employee benefits and accrued liability. Once again, this is for payment for unused sick days and vacation days when people separate us, whether resignation or retirement. For that, so this is we can maintain it up to 100% of that. Right now we're at 76% of that liability. Next slide, ERS. This is contributions towards an employee's retirement system. So ERS employees would be custodial maintenance, clerical, this would be any non-certificated staff in our district. So this, you'll notice the reserve amount did go down because last year we did use $500,000 to compensate for expenses last year. TRS is similar in that it is funding contributions for TRS, which are certificated staff, which would be certificated administrators, teachers, as well as teaching assistants. So we were able to put more money in that reserve. And then lastly, workers' compensation. So we do participate in, this is a new reserve that the board just established last month for $250,000. We are self-insured for workers' compensation. So this money in there is for really unexpected claims that do arise from that. So with that, that's our kind of a brief overview of our financial status in terms of reserves. Does the board have any questions?
I just have one.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. On the capital, is there a time frame, like when we have to use the money by?
Sure, so that reserve was created 2017, if I'm not mistaken. It's a 10 years, so we have to use it in 10 years or do something else with the money. Pretty sure it's 2017.
Yeah. So I do have some questions.
Sure.
Specifically on the tax tertiary reserve and the dramatic increase that we have over this year over the last several years, I should say. And more specifically, like, you know, the reason for the reserve is that we reasonably deemed necessary to meet these tax refunds. And right now that reserve is double what the current year claim is, over assessment claim, and 10 times greater than it was last year, of what we paid out last year. And over the past 5 years, we've only paid out $100,000 in claim. So I guess what makes the district think that that's a reasonable amount to set aside for tax refunds? And were there any discussions about, could those funds be better used to increase something like the capital project, where we know we have the Bishop's Gate, you know, work coming up in the next couple of years, to bolster that reserve, because we only have 2-3 more years left to add to that reserve, or even the this additional $500,000 we approved last month to go towards refunding the ERS reserve, where we have taken $500,000 over the year. So I guess I'm trying to gauge why we put the money here versus other places.
Sure. So I'm going to answer it, and then I'll have Michelle chime in when I mess something up. So first, with all of our reserves and our deposits into our reserves, this is a conversation that we have with our auditors. We show them backup documentation, so it's going to come to consensus that this is appropriate. So it's just not us kind of sitting there saying, this is where we think the money should go. So that's number one. We have experienced that, you know, specifically a company has come in and is facilitating these tax tertiary claims. So we would anticipate them staying around for a couple of years, and the process does take time. So although they have filed for this school year, by the time a decision is made, it could be two or 3 years down the road. So we're anticipating additional costs because of that. In terms of like picking this over the capital reserve, when we put the money in the capital reserve, it's locked in there because it has to be voter approved. So when we put it in tax tertiary, part of it is it has to be returned to the general fund before the first day of the 4th school year after deposit. So it does allow a little flexibility if we see that tax tertiary claims reduce over time. So in my mind, there's a little bit more flexibility in that as well. Michelle, do you want to add anything else?
No, that was perfect. Okay, so I just, you know, I'm sorry I'm hung up on this because, you know, Aventine Properties has been around for a while. I've used them, got nowhere. I've, you know, I've done the tax tertiary process as an individual, not going through Aventine Properties, got nowhere. So I really, you know, part of me, I would like to know the success rate of these tax refund claims historically, to know that this $500,000 additionally that we put here is really the right place for it. And I understand, you know, from an accounting perspective and my history that, you know, reserves and prudent reserves are very important, and I agree with that, but just putting money here because we can get it back next year, is that really the right answer? or, you know, could we have left it in the general fund? Because, you know, what we had a $500,000 emergency fire system thing here at Cahill. I mean, were there any conversations about just keeping that money in the general fund to meet current operating emergencies that come up as well?
Right, so to that, I mean, part of it is in New York State, we only have a 4% fund balance, right? So we also do want to recognize that that is an expectation from New York State for that. Putting money into this account has already been approved by the board last month. It was discussed at the audit committee meeting as well as kind of transferring funds. So, I mean, moving forward, I think we need to have that kind of same conversation, you know, at the end of this school year over the summer to see if the reserve limits should change or if there's other recommendation from the board.
Right, I mean, that was one of my concerns last month, that we made the approvals of these transfers prior to having sort of this documentation.
Yeah. No, I will rightfully admit this is the first time since I think 2021 that we've had a reserve report.
Right.
So. All right. Thank you.
All right, board member remarks. Start at this end of the table. Anybody? No? Good? Good? No?
I'll chime in. All right. First and foremost, thank you, Ms. Cahill, for your presentation today. The BLT students, SKID students, and I believe it was your maybe student government or part of student government. They kind of skedaddled midway. It was good to see them. I love the presentation by the kids as well. I love seeing the growth. You know, from the beginning of the year to end of the year, the implementation of a lot of the after-hour stuff that you're doing, the clubs, the activities. I like seeing the teachers and students kind of engage and actually set up and volunteer for that type of stuff. So kudos to you for what you're doing. Thank you for what you are doing as well. I'll try to be real quick here now. Congratulations to the 6 all-state students that were performing NISPA, the 2 all-state mixed choir students, and obviously the band concert. Thank you guys for doing what you do. Congratulations to Christine Conti for being for receiving an award from Saugerties Student Relations team. And I wanted to thank Store Motors as well. And also I saw on the agenda for girls wrestling. I think that's pretty awesome. I know obviously our students up here participate as well. I think it's really cool to kind of see that continue to grow and move forward. You know, with that being said, as the older students are continuing to grow that sport, make sure that you're engaging the younger students as well to try to continue that growth in that as well. I have a younger daughter who I'd love to see kind of engage in something along those lines as well. Thank you.
No need, no, thank you. And I will say what Mr. Wells typically does, thank you for covering a lot of those things. I want to thank Meredith Mills. I'm sitting here in this meeting and I'm thinking about, reminded that I was her age once, and I think the fact that she's sitting here is a testament to her maturity and her commitment, and yeah, remarkable. Good for you, Meredith. Thank you for your participation. And congratulations, obviously, certainly to all of those individuals that Mr. Wells mentioned, our student athletes, our NISMA students, as well as Ms. Conti and the BOCES team. It's nice to note Ms. Conti is a Saugerties High School graduate. Many people did know that. Several people may not have known that, so congratulations all around there. And Ms. Cahill and her Cahill students, thank you. Thank you very much. I also want to thank preemptively, later on down in the meeting, we have a resolution. I want to thank Bob Siracusano and the Sawyer Automotive Foundation. There's a $10,000 donation, a resolution for a donation that they've given to our school system, you know, split out amongst several of our extracurricular groups. We've been talking about extracurricular monies and things like this. But what a tremendous asset and a tremendous resource. I have not been able to participate in some of the fundraisers that Mr. Siracusano brings up. For instance, the musical event that typically happens every November. It's just a date that hasn't worked for me for years. But the fact of the matter is that it's still pretty outstanding and amazing that they continue to do what they do and they donate back to our school. My hope is that the extracurricular groups that see this money use this money. I would like to make one final comment, and again, I kind of feel like I bear a little bit of a responsibility to do so because I did work in this district many, many years ago. But we had two of my former colleagues, and one of them actually was one of my former instructors did pass away very recently, and both of them from the art department. So I'd like to just make note and make mention of Sue Gaffridi, and Terry Rosenblum. Again, both longtime art teachers in our district, again, circa 80s time frame. Terry was also an extraordinary union leader, a labor leader, very involved in the STA back those many years ago. There are two people that stood out, and again, it's a generational thing. They are people that I remember. Again, I saw them as students. I did work with them, and I just want to acknowledge their passing as a Sawyer, and the great work that they've done and the people that they've impacted. Thank you.
Test. I got it to work. Yeah. I just want to, Bill, thank you for that, because I think that of acknowledging those people, I did not know them, but it's just, I've just been thinking a lot because of the season and in general, just sort of gratitude. And once again, I'm just really grateful for being in this district and being able to serve and have people elect me to volunteer for this. And I wanted to tell the students there, the ones that were like, I don't know if the BLT is for me. And I'm looking forward to you voting for them for school board in not too long. And then in the spirit of Krista Behringer, who may be out there actually still watching this enticing show, and to thank Dan, first of all, for sending us information in sort of a timely manner and keeping us informed about things that are going on, and then responding to our questions. And if you don't have an answer right away, you say, I will get that answer for you, and you do, and that is an incredibly, it's a real gift. And so in spirit of Krista Behringer, the Ulster County School Boards Association has a meeting on Thursday that I've just put in my calendar on Thursday, January 23rd. It is at the venue at the Best Western in Kingston, if anybody wants to join me or carpool. There's going to be a discussion with Ulster County legislators there, and the iPark updates, which seem to be going on regularly. So I just want to let everybody else know that I'm going to that if you want to come with me. And I have so many questions I want to ask you, Ms. Cahill, about some of your data, so maybe we can make a time to do that at some point. And I just appreciated the use of the graph paper, and this skit was just amazing. So I think we could all take a lesson from that.
Thank you. I just have a couple of things. One, and I typically don't talk about things like this, but to follow on what Mr. Ball talked about, and the only reason I'm bringing this up is I would say probably 5 or 6 district employees reach out to me over the course of this week and say, are you going to mention something about this? And I said, when I got to like the 3rd person, I said yes. So we, while he was not a Saugerties high school teacher or district employee, a gentleman by the name of David Gorey, who was born and raised here and was a Saugerties High graduate, passed away suddenly this week. He was a 24-year special education teacher up at Carroll Durham, and we have several teachers within the district who have worked with him, one being Ms. Molyneux, our new high school principal, Spent 12 years with him as a math teacher up at Carroll Durham. And we have a ton of other people who are in our district who went to school with him. Two of them sitting at this table, myself, Mr. Ball, Ms. Hayes over there, but Coach Greco and people who just retired like Coach Melville, and several of those people reached out to me. Dave, he also happened to be one of my best friends. He was the best man in my wedding. And he was the consummate teacher. If you didn't know Dave, if you happened to be at his wake this week, the turnout of his students, both former and current students who turned out to pay their respects and go through the impact that Dave has had on them. Special education students who graduated 10, 12 years ago came back and said they still take things that Mr. Gorey taught them in their day-to-day life. So he was the consummate teacher, and so and also his sister Gina Kinnery was a longtime district employee as a social worker at the high school. So just wanted to mention him and take the request that a lot of people had asked me to bring up Dave and his passing on Tuesday of this past week. So that's on that. Last thing, Dr. Urshik stole a lot of my thunder on the other topic I was going to talk about, which is this Council of Industry component that we just kicked off in, I think, September, right? And I've given thanks to Dr. Urshik and Dr. Rohrbach and the other folks, Ian Cooper, who's been involved in the meetings all along. This was something that, a component of this was happening years ago, and then we had a certain teacher leave, and it sort of died. Getting the tours of these local industrial companies, manufacturing companies, and in the span of kicking it from September to now, in the span of 3 months, these guys have moved the ball completely forward to where in January they're going to start recording videos of the companies and what they do. We're going to have 4 employees from Elma come in and speak to classes about what it means to work there. They're both Viking Industries and Elna have offered up their HR teams to come in and do, resume techniques, interview do's and don'ts, and even run mock interviews. And so, I just wanted to say thank you to Dan and to Dr. Rohrbach for you guys, one, taking the request to have the meeting, because I was the one who kind of said, can we do this? And you guys have just run with it. And then a special thank you to Ms. Hayes, who we brought in another component. She was pulled in at the last minute and is now going to engage, her students will be engaged in creating content and recording all the videos and doing that. So not only from a manufacturing perspective, but we're getting more experience for her video students. So thank you, Ms. Hayes, for jumping in at the last minute and agreeing to shift priorities and get this stuff done in January. So I just think it's a real testament to when, we get a lot of flack about not engaging and having partnerships with the community. And this is a real good example. And we talked about at the last meeting about doing it with other industries as well, whether it be banking or something like that. So I just thought that was a real good positive. So, all right, thank you. All right, moving on. J, these are 3 components, which are resignation, leaves of absence, and appointments. Oh, okay, yes. You want to do these first and then make this, or add this? All right. So I'd like to make a motion to add another one to resignations, which is a retirement resolution of June 14th, 2022, to be adjusted as follows. Scott Wickham, permanently certified business and distributed education teacher for the purpose of retirement, an irrevocable resignation effective close of business January 24th, 2025, as per the separation agreement and release. Do I have a motion to change the agenda?
So moved.
By Mr. Wells, second by Mr. Ball. Any discussion? All right, so moved. All right, so this would be 4. So including that one, if I could have a motion to accept items J1 through 4. Ms. Delarosa, second. By Dr. Haas. Any discussion?
I'd like to just thank Mr. Wickham for his years of service. We came into Saugerties District the same year. We began our career the same year. We worked very closely together on a number of things. This dinosaur called shared decision making and Part 100 or whatever it was back then. Congratulations.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, moved. All right, moving on to K. I have items K.
I'd like to make a motion to remove item K, 2.
K2.
No, sorry, K5.
Reserve report resolution?
Yeah, from the consent agenda, please.
So you want to do a poll? Okay. All right. So, yeah. So I have a motion to accept items K1 through 4. Ms. Delarosa, second it?
I'll second.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Miss Kelder. That was the voice of God right there. Wow. Miss Kelder seconded. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. All right. I'm going to do that one last, Christine, okay? A motion to accept items K6 through 10. Ms. Delarusa, seconded by Mr. Meyer. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. All right, passed. All right. All right. Item K5. We'll do the discussion first. Well, it's on there. I don't have to make a motion. Just hold it out with poll. That's all.
I think you make a motion to vote on it and then you say.
I think so, but okay. Okay. All right, we'll make a motion to vote on 5 as a poll vote. Ms. Delarosa.
Oh, so she doesn't want us to.
No, she did. No, we're making a motion to vote on it separately. I got Ms. Delarosa as a, can I have a second? Mr. Wells, all right.
Any discussion?
Any discussion on that? Yeah, I got it.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I wanted to hold this separately just
Yeah.
because I do have concerns about some ways some of the reserves are being held. So at this time,
Does your mic work?
sorry, but can you hear me? Is it now done? Okay, yes, just so, based on some of my questions that I had during Dr. Ursich's presentation, I feel that I'm not comfortable with some of the reserve levels of where they're at, so I'm not going to be able to support this at this time.
Okay. All right, so this is to take it out in a separate vote. We had one discussion. All those in favor? This is to take it out as a vote. Then we'll, no?
We already took it out.
Okay.
We made a motion now to vote on this.
All right.
Is there any more discussion?
Any more discussion?
Yeah. Any other discussion? No? Okay. Virginia, can we do a roll call vote?
Aye.
No.
Katie Hamerton-Hahn. Aye. Yes. Nikita Harrisberry. Aye. Carol Kelly.
Aye.
Michael Meyer,
Aye.
Jeffrey Ozzie,
Aye.
Timothy Wells.
Aye. Seven to one?
7-1.
All right, motion passes 7-1. All right. Board action items. I have items, a motion to accept items L1 through L22. Mr. Wells, second. Ms. Rosa, any discussion on any of the items? Give everybody a second, look through. All right, all those in favor? Aye. All right, we're up to the committee reports. Ms. Rosa, audit report? Audit committee, I'm sorry.
We just had an audit committee prior to this meeting, primarily to discuss the extra classroom audit that was just completed and was on this agenda for approval, to go over that with the external auditor, and some of the recommendations on like shoring up some of the controls over the accounting of the extra classroom funds, which are about $300,000 of student funds, and just ensuring that they have proper disbursement and receipt procedures and reconciling those accounts. Those were sort of the findings from that audit, that there wasn't a corrective action plan done to provide training to the students, the club advisors, and treasurers. That was approved tonight as well. So that's pretty much what was discussed at tonight's audit committee meeting. And the next one is TBD.
All right, thank you.
Facilities, we had a full facilities report from Jeff and Jim tonight, so again, and the facilities meeting, the second one will be, or the next one in January is TBD as well. Bill, quick update on policy?
Yeah, we approved 10 policies for first reading. Today, as well, actually 8 policies for first reading. 2 policies are being abolished. If you'd like to hear your board members discuss policy changes, policy meetings are open to the public. Our last meeting was December 3rd. Our next meeting will be January 7th. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, a motion to head into executive session, and when we come, what?
I think we want to flip-flop public recognition before executive session.
Oh, it's just gonna say, okay. All right, so second public discussion, if anybody in the audience would like to, yes? Just, yes, come on up, state your name, where you're from, and your topic.
Hi, my name is Dion Hamer. I live here in Saugerties. My question is about the budget. My understanding is that New York State has increased foundation funding to $2.6 million for fiscal year 2024. Is that correct? Sorry.
Just in general, we do not usually respond during public comment time, but so foundation aid for the current school year, I think, did increase overall, but for Saugerties Central School District, it did not.
Why was that?
So it's based on the foundation aid formula. So we were actually stand to lose a couple $100,000, but because of Save Harmless, they kept us at the same amount for basic foundation aid.
Right, and that's been a criticism of the formula that's been used to calculate this donation aid.
Correct, yes.
It's not accurate. Is there any effort to change that?
Sure. So, I'll keep going if that's okay with everybody. So, the New York State Governor, in the last budget charter, reached out to the Rockefeller Institute to conduct a study. They did work over the summer. They just published a report December 1st or 2nd, I believe it came out. In their report, it's a list of recommendations. So some of the recommendations include using more relevant information on poverty, looking at the ELL population, looking at population overall. So that right now is a published document. It's like 300 and some pages. So the next step would then be to get the governor's proposal and then the legislature and see how they hammer out those details as to what it will look like. But for Saugerties right now, I don't know what that means. If it will be an increase of foundation or a decrease of foundation, and that will be determined through the budgeting process.
And the increase in school taxes that went through was it last year?
Mm-hmm.
Why did that not have an effect on the school budget in terms of alleviating some of the pressures, financial pressures? Why was the school budget not passed on it? What happened to the additional tax dollars that were generated from that increase?
Sure, so if you want to have that conversation, we can schedule a meeting, we can have that conversation.
I guess that's what happened.
Of course.
Where do I ask that question?
You can reach out to me, call my office, I'll give you my number, afterwards, and we can set the time to talk.
Sounds good, thank you.
All right, motion to move into executive session, and when we come out of executive session, it would simply be to adjourn the meeting. There's no other topics on the agenda, so. By Mr. Meyer. Mr. Wells seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Make sure you stop by Virginia here and
Good.
a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
Mr. Wells? Second. Mr. Ball, second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Mr. Wells? Second. Second by Mr. Paul. No discussion. All in favor? Aye.